Welcome back to Gleaning and Gathering, the podcast that is heard currently in almost 40 countries, and we have over 11,000 listens now total. Thankful for everyone who has joined us here and the lessons that we're gleaning and passing along to you. Thankful for all of you who are listening today. I want to talk about lessons in leadership that I'm learning. And I think one of the things that we see about leadership is that we tend to lead the way that we've been led. We tend to do what we have seen modeled. And there really are two different main kinds of leadership. And that is the command and control model. And that's kind of the old standard, you do as I say, teamwork is everyone else doing what I tell them to do style leadership. And then there's the trust and inspire model. I was really blessed last week to listen to a podcast with Stephen Covey, and he was talking about his newest book, Trust and Inspire. He was contrasting the old command and control model versus trust and inspire. In the old model, there's tell versus show. There's the boss versus coach. There's motivation versus inspiration. And there's several other things that are different. But there really are three stewardships involved in this kind of trust and inspire model. And the first one is we need to model the kind of behavior that we want to see in the people that we are leading. If we are telling them that we want trust and inspire in their leadership, then we need to lead in that same kind of way. And so what do we mean by model? Well, what it means is that we are doing the thing that we want them to do. And so if we want them to be vulnerable, if we want them to open up and share openly, honestly, then we need to lead the way. Leaders need to lead. We need to do the thing that we are wanting them to do and show them what it looks like. Not just tell them, but show them. And then we need to trust them to do it. And I think for leaders, many times, this is the hardest part. Because are they going to? We've given them a job to do. Now, are we going to look over their shoulder and make sure that they've done it? Or are we going to trust them to do it? And trusting them means that we're giving up a measure of control over the situation. And then the third stewardship that we have is that of inspiration, that we need to inspire them to go further to where they're bringing their best version of themselves to it. And they want to make it better in a way that they're thinking about these things. We can model behavior. We can trust them. But how do you inspire people? And I think that kind of inspiration, not just engagement, but going beyond engagement. Someone can be engaged in their job, but not truly be inspired. Not really showing up with 100% of everything that's there. And when people actually do that, it's powerful. There's so much more that can be done. But that's the goal, is that we want to be bringing our people along with us on the journey in a way that they are inspired. Another podcast in regards to leadership this week that I was listening to, Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast, and he was talking about 6 habits to avoid. And just a couple of those that stuck out to me. The habit of doing too much. We don't want to just be busy. We want to be effective, but we don't grow by doing more. He said, we grow by doing more of what matters most. And I think that's really the challenge. To be able to look at our lives and see what we're doing and be able to evaluate what is it that really is going to move the needle in my business. The 80-20 rule is true in most places, and that is that 80% of what you're doing right now is producing 20% of your revenue. And 20% of what you're doing right now is what's producing 80%. And so are we focused in on those things that will really move the needle, on that top 20%? In working in the area of fundraising and donor development, a number of organizations really feel like that they should try to be fair, reach everyone, talk to everyone the same, And what they're saying many times is not that they want to treat everyone equally well. What they mean by that is that they're going to treat everyone equally poorly. I was just reading this past week that 80% of organizations that receive funds from people, receive gifts, never actually communicate with them what has been done with their gift. It's sad, but there are a number of people who give, and when they give, it's kind of like if you ordered something on Amazon and you never received anything in the mail. If you did that very long, how many times would you order something? The return on investment, again, why do people give? They want to make a difference. And so if they give and they never see the difference that was made, it's like ordering a product and never getting it in the mail. Did that make a difference? I don't know. I hope it did, but I don't really know. And so we need to think and we need to report better than anyone else. Another statistic that's there is that right now, currently, about 85 to 90% of everything that comes into a nonprofit organization comes from 10 to 15% of the donor base. 10 to 15%. Are we really focusing in and building the relationship and developing, cultivating that small but very important group of people? Are we doing that? So that's in the area of fundraising, but you can translate that to where you are with your business. We don't grow by doing more. We grow by doing more of what matters most. There's something that if you did it would make everything else that you did either easier or unnecessary. What is it? What are those things that actually move the needle? And so I want to encourage you to evaluate your current activities. Tier 1 are those things that are mission critical. What are the activities that you have to do them because they are absolutely crucial to your mission? And then there's those tier 2 activities. They're very important, even strategic. What are they? What are those things? They're not mission critical, but they're very important. And then tier 3, activities that are meaningful, but not vital. And then tier 4, these are externally initiated. They're lower priority. Someone else is trying to get you to do this. This is their thing. Of all your activities currently, I would encourage you to write them all down. Everything that you're currently doing, and then put them into one of 4 boxes. Is it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4? And then begin by eliminating those things that are in those lower tiers. Growing impact starts with subtraction, not addition. And so we don't need to start by asking, can I do this? But ask, should I do this? And if you hesitate at all, the answer is probably no. If it's not a definite yes, then it's probably a definite no. But I think all of us struggle with this habit of doing too much. And I think the reason that we get into this is that many times we look out at the future and we are way too sanguine about what we think we will be able to accomplish in November. I'm going to have lots of time. I mean, after all, it's March. And by the time I get to November, it'll be fine. Yeah, I've got all kinds of things that I'm working on now, but by the time I get to November, it's going to be great. And we are completely unrealistic because we're looking at the future in light of the present, or we're looking at the future and we don't see anything on our schedule out there. And so we just go ahead and say yes to things and we end up doing too much. By the time we get to November, we're thinking, why in the world did I say yes to this? But we've already made the commitment. We're already there. And so I want to encourage you to be fierce about protecting your time. Don't let your schedule happen to you. And if you hesitate about whether or not you should make a certain commitment or not, you probably know what you need to do. I had some challenges like this past week. I'm currently evaluating several different opportunities that are out there in the future. And as I was talking with my mentor, Brother Paul, yesterday, and laying out some of these to him, he said, I think you already know what you need to do. I don't think you need my input. You just need to have the courage to be able to say no. And so I encourage you, as you evaluate your schedule, begin to eliminate and be ruthless with it. And then those things that you can't eliminate, what can you delegate? Again, coming back to the list of things that only you can do. And if you don't have that list, I encourage you to have it. But there are things that only you can do. That is your work. But if it's not work that only you can do, the third step is to delegate. What are those things that we need to delegate? That we need to hand off to someone else who may be better at it, or whether they're better at it or not, at least they can do it. So evaluate, eliminate, delegate. And then finally, automate. What are those things that you can put on autopilot? Those things that you can place on auto pay. Those things that you can take care of by making sure that there is a system in place that you're not having to think about this actively. It's happening in the background. And if you will evaluate, first of all, those activities that you have, eliminate the ones that don't need to be done, delegate those that still do need to be done, and automate the rest, there's going to be a lot more time available, again, to do the things that matter most. I think the next habit that really stuck out to me this week was the habit of avoiding conflict. I didn't realize this early on in ministry and in life, but conflict is inevitable in leadership. And avoiding conflict often feels easier in the moment, but it is definitely more difficult in the long run. Unresolved problems rarely fix themselves. A book that I would love to encourage you to read on this topic is Crucial Conversations. But I think one of the things that we need to do as leaders is to change our mindset about conflict. Conflict doesn't mean that a relationship is coming to an end. It's often an opportunity to strengthen that relationship. If we see problems early and solve them quickly, it can actually help us to strengthen the relationship. We have to be willing to get in there and actually talk about the real issue. And we can do that in a way that's healthy and walk away united. Healthy conflict is not about winning or losing, but it's about growing and learning. And so I want to encourage you, if you've got unresolved conflicts in your life, if you've got situations right now that you really need to address, don't just let them sit there. I encourage you to deal with them. I think it's easier for some kinds of personalities than others. I'm an Enneagram 8, and so for me, I often eat conflict for breakfast, and it doesn't bother me. In general, conflict is it's a regular part of life. However, I've got a couple of people in my family that are not. And so for them, conflict is incredibly painful and very, very difficult. So I get it. Everybody's different. And it may sound like, yes, just have that conflict and get it over with. But for you, that's just not the way you do it. I get that. But I want to encourage you not to allow things to just continue to sit and fester. Avoiding it may feel easier in the moment, but it's definitely going to be more difficult in the long run. So practice Matthew 18. If you have an issue with your brother, go to your brother. If there's something between you and that other person, don't let it set. Get it out there. Talk to them. Deal with it. Don't just take it to someone else and talk about it. Go to them. Talk with them. I was having a conversation this past week with a young leader who was talking to me about a situation where the leader that he's serving with right now is being criticized by others, and these others are coming to him. And he was asking me, what should I do about it? And my admonition to him was, tell these people to practice Matthew 18. If they've got an issue with this brother, then they need to go to him directly. They need to deal with it directly and not try to bring it to you. And I also encouraged him to go to this leader and to make him aware of the situation so that it could be dealt with. Conflict is a natural part of being the fallen human creatures that we are. It is inevitable in leadership that you're going to have conflict, but I encourage you to get it resolved. Don't leave it unresolved. Practice Matthew 18. These are a few of the lessons that I'm gleaning this week, and I wanted to share them with you. For Gleaning and Gathering, God bless.